All right, welcome to another episode of Arts Place Conservative Talk from a Different View. We've got a great show today. I have my co host Lloyd Mendenhall, who will be doing probably a lot of talking today. But we've got a great guest today, Casper Stockham, candidate for U.S. Congress in uh, District 6 here in Colorado.
That's right.
He's a veteran at running for office. He's ran twice in CD1, which is Denver, which is heavily Democratic. However, he is running in CD6, which is a more competitive district. Uh, our former Congressman Mike Kaufman was defeated by a Democrat in the 2018 election. So hopefully, I have faith that Casper can win that seat back. So,
Man.
Casper, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're running for Congress.
Well, as you mentioned, I'm a Gulf War veteran and a patriot. I love my country. I don't love always everything that we do, but I tell you what, this is the best, greatest, best hope, for humanity is the United States. We have a lot of challenges in our past, but we are the shining light on the hill, as they say. So I was in the Air Force and got out, and I was not really involved with politics. I was involved with the community, trying to help people in the community kind of rise up from their situation. And someone asked me to run for Congress, and I told them I am not running for Congress, not interested in running for Congress. But over time, I started to think about it. I said, well, maybe I can make a better difference or bigger difference, by running for Congress and winning, because most of the politicians I see are pretty much worthless. I literally, I don't see them doing anything, that I can point to and say, wow, man, I'm glad he or she is my congressperson.
Yeah, exactly.
As you mentioned, I ran in Denver twice, and even though I lost those races, I currently hold the record for the most votes by any Republican in the Denver area. So when Mike Kaufman got beat by Jason Crow this cycle, and I live in Aurora, even though I ran in Denver, but I actually live in CD6. I live in Aurora. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to allow, I'm going to sit back and let this happen and let this go unchallenged. So I threw my hat in the ring a couple months ago. I'm excited about our race. I do have some primary challengers, but I'm really the only one that is positioned well enough to actually challenge Jason Crow and win this cycle. So I'm excited to be able to do that.
Well,
All right, you got anything to say?
Well, yeah, what I was doing, I wasn't ignoring. I was actually tweeting out to people to let everybody know we were live and let them know.
Wonderful.
But
Thank you.
first off, thanks for your service. What'd you do in the Air Force? I know this is a twist away from everything, but I was in the Air Force as well.
Yeah. So I started out loading bombs on the flight line. I was a weapons mechanic.
So was I.
Oh, okay. 462.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
I was a 46270 when I got out. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So I did that for a while, but as when it's hot, it's like hell on the flight line.
Yes.
And when it's cold, it's like hell on the flight.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything on the flight line.
Exactly. I said, this is crazy. I don't want to be out here. So I transferred into communications. I turned into a crypto tech.
Oh, okay. Excellent. Excellent. Yeah.
Until we got out.
Yeah. So, yeah, I worked on the first 6 A10s we ever had.
Yep. I love the 18.
Yeah,
it's still in service today after all this time.
I know. Well, I was there when it started, so that's been 40 somewhat. If God, yeah, a lot of years. 19. Let's see, I got out. I've been out 40 years, so I got out in 79. So
it's probably the best multi-purpose aircraft that's ever been built. I mean, that thing you could load missiles and bombs and all kinds of stuff on it.
You could put anything on that thing. It was just a beast, Yeah.
And then it could get shot up and stuff and come back and still be just
Yep, still fly. Yeah, it'd make it back, bring the pilot back. That was and I just saw that maybe that's something you can do about it. If you should win, maybe you can stop them from, uh, you know,
Canceling the project. Yeah.
canceling out the A10 because I hear it's up on the chopping block again.
Well,
And
Mhm,
I think every year it's up on the block, but it survives every year because the
mhm.
pilots and the people that work on it say, "Are you crazy? You don't have anything to replace this, so you
that's
might
it.
leave it
Yeah,
alone until you can replace it." Yeah,
yeah. But
So, so Casper, I've got a question about fundraising. Since you have ran for Congress twice, so you already have an established network of people that you could go to uh, raise funds for your campaign. But now that you're in CD6, there's that added challenge because you're going to have to broaden your base, so to say, of people to go to raise your funds because, like Lloyd said earlier, he wants to get money out of politics, but money is an important function
yeah,
of campaigning to get your message out and traveling. You do when you're campaigning, you're doing a lot of traveling, and especially congressman. Your congressional district is pretty big. It's a lot bigger than a state representative or a state senator.
sure,
Uh, your district covers several counties,
yes,
so and that's a lot of precincts to walk.
yeah,
So uh, that is my question for you.
sure, sure. So yes, I do have a following or a base at this point, but a lot of those are in Denver. So now I'm in CD6. I'm in the Aurora area, so I have to almost build not over not over from scratch, but I definitely have to build a new base or a continued base. Um, our first quarter fundraising was not overly exciting. However, we didn't have a finance committee person on board at that time, but we do now. So second quarter is already looking very well. We've had a couple max out donations already this quarter, so we're excited about that. I just got back from DC, and even though I got bit by a swamp creature on the way out, uh,
Eesh.
I made some really good contacts while I was there. I found out that a really good friend of mine that I've known her for over 7 or 8 years is actually working in the White House. She works for the president. And I was like, wow,
oh,
that's amazing. So I got a chance to talk with her and make some connections there. So um, second quarter is going to be a lot different than the first quarter.
Right,
Already got some meet and greets set up for this month. We're hoping to do our first forum slash debate the end of November with my primary opponents.
right,
So once this cycle, 2019 cycle of elections is over, the mayoral race, school board candidates, and so forth. Once that's done, things are going to start heating up for 2020.
right,
So we're excited to be able to challenge my primary opponents, but also challenge Jason Crow as well.
right. Well, there are a lot of places to go to. There's the Aurora Republican Forum. I've been to that a bunch of times when I ran for state house.
Yeah.
There's the Arapahoe County Republican Men's Club. I think they're once a month now. It used to be every Monday. And sadly, one of their founders, a veteran of World War II, More Martz, passed away a couple weeks ago. So sad to see him go. He was a great guy, but yeah, get networking with those people. Bo and Lynn Cottrell are a couple people to talk to.
Oh yeah, doing well.
Lori Horn, and the Arapahoe County Tea Party. I think they're having a meeting this coming Tuesday.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
so those are some of the few places you could go to
Oh yeah.
uh, meet.
I'm familiar with all those organizations, and I attend them on
Wonderful.
a regular basis. So
Great,
Oh,
great, great. So it sounds like you're pretty well connected, and you're going in the right direction,
yeah,
which is good for you.
yeah. Well, as you pointed out, this is not my first rodeo. I've been here. This is my third time, and again, it's a different district, but a lot of the mechanics are the same. So now I have a team, and in the past I haven't had a real team, if you will, because Denver was so off the radar for Republicans. They really didn't even try to win
Right.
Denver. But CD6 is going to be a totally different animal. I'm excited because the Trump administration. When I was in D.C., I found out that CD6 is well on the radar for the Trump administration. In fact, on the 10th of this month, there's going to be a press conference at Jason Crow's office, organized by the Trump campaign, um, challenging Jason Crow because he is one of the Democrat congresspeople who have put their blessings, if you will, on the impeachment proceedings.
Oh boy.
The Trump administration is forcing the Democrats' hand to make sure that they do a vote, at least a roll call vote, to see who is and who isn't on board with the impeachment. That's going to help me tremendously because I believe Jason Crow is going to raise his hand and say, "Oh yeah, absolutely." I think that's going to not be good for him. So
Yeah, that's true. I think this whole and I'm hoping they go for it because I think it's going to just uh, clobber the Democrats. It's going to
yeah,
backfire big time, and they've got a severe case of Trump derangement syndrome going on there.
yeah, it's a no-win. It's a no-win situation for the Democrats. No matter how you slice it, it's going to work out well for us and for Trump. If they don't impeach him, they're going to look weak to their base.
Right.
If they do impeach him, it's almost going to guarantee a Trump reelection. He's already looking good for a reelection anyway. He has a 50% approval rating in the Hispanic community. He has a 20 plus percentage approval rating in the Black community. Those numbers alone almost ensure his victory. And there's a great awakening happening in those communities and other communities that's going to allow for Trump to win not just the popular vote, but the electoral college vote as well.
Yeah, that was one of the things I was going to talk to you about because I find that some of the most informed and some of the best people in this whole political process right now are the blacks and the Hispanics, and some of these people on YouTube. It's such well, we got like Candace Owens. We got she's a top name person, but there are there's a guy I think is called uh, conservative black something. I can't remember it now. I'd have to. You can look it up on YouTube. But
But there's a
this
bunch
guy,
of
huh?
I said there's a bunch of them out there now.
Yeah, there's a, and they just impress me because this is the first time that I've seen in years where we're starting to see back to a melting pot again. I mean, we were so divided
Right.
over this last. I mean, it was such a sad situation because I thought and I can't, I'm a fat old white guy. What can I say? Apparently I've got privilege. I sure wish somebody would have told me when I had it because I didn't know about it.
Exactly.
But and I'm not, it's just black conservative patriot. Thank you, Mitch. Mitch is in the chat, and he just put that black conservative patriot.
Yeah.
That guy he's on top of things, and
Right.
there's just so many of them popping up. And believe it or not, they really know their stuff. Us run of the mill Republicans, we're kind of losing out because we're not paying attention.
Right.
Mhm.
And to
We've
your
got
point,
complacent.
yeah, yeah. What's happening now is I call it the Great Black Awakening. And in fact, I'm writing a book about it. It'll be out in about 60 days called The Great Black and Millennial Awakening. And for years and years and years, myself, Alan West, and um, 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 the Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, and
Right.
Thomas Sowell, all these folks have been out here as conservative blacks. However, there really has never been a movement. It's always been individuals like us that have been out here for years and years and years,
Right.
saying the same things that Candace is saying right now. But Candace Owens, along with um, the gentleman you talked about, and David Harris Jr., and I mean, the list goes on and on. These folks have been able to create a movement, and that's what's different. That's what's different about this. So, just this week, there was a Black Leadership Conference at the White House. There were hundreds of young Black professional men and women in mega hats and excited about America, excited about life. The media, of course, has ignored it, but that's not even the
Yeah.
biggest problem. Lloyd and Art, the biggest problem is the Republican Party is ignoring it. That's the problem.
Exactly.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
what aggravates me, because the Republicans as a party have their best opportunity to
Yeah,
really, make their mark. I mean, I saw something the other day that, we've always been, as Republicans, uh, we spent most of our time saying, uh, well, we're sorry, we don't want to cause
right,
problems,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it's time for us to be proactive.
Yeah,
Let's use let's
proactive.
Yeah,
Yes.
let's do what the Democrats are doing. Let's get down and dirty. Let's get,
Yeah.
you and I we talked about that. Let's, I don't mean we need to go to fisticuffs, but
Right.
we need to verbally do it.
Absolutely.
We need to quit taking this stance of being the apologetic party.
Yeah,
Because
yeah. Imagine, guys, imagine a world to where racism could not be used in any political discussion. Imagine if that was off the table.
that would be
Yeah.
beautiful. I mean,
Mhm.
that's what Martin Luther King said his dream was.
That's what his
And
was, and that's what we are trying to usher in.
Mhm.
That's why I'm excited because it started in 2016. It started with Trump because
Yeah.
up until then,
Mhm.
there was no Republican fighting back on this racism claim. You
right.
know, they said the same thing about Mitt Romney. They said he was a racist.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
he didn't fight back enough. And now we have a fighter in the White House. I'm excited to be able to support him. I'm asking. I have asked officially for his support and his endorsement of my campaign, even now during the primary. Um, you know, it, we have an opportunity as Republicans, as conservatives, to really just flip this script and change it forever.
Mhm.
And I'm
Yeah.
so disappointed that not enough Republicans are stepping up and just speaking to this issue.
And I agree. Back when I ran for state house in 2010 and
Yeah,
2012,
yeah,
I've been telling other candidates we gotta be more aggressive. We
right.
can't just sit there and be the nice guy all the
Right.
time because
No, no.
you heard of the old saying, "Nice guys finish last." I remember there was a candidate running for state senate, and there was news that came out that his opponent hadn't paid taxes in California,
Yeah,
and I told this person, well, why aren't you using it? Oh, well, I'm above that. I'm not into dirty politics. We're the nice guy party. And I'm like going,
yeah,
well, good, you're gonna lose, and guess what? He did.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And right now, guys, I'm running against moderate one and moderate two. Moderate one is a never Trumper, hates Trump, has on his website that Trump should not win in 2020. The other one says he supports Trump. However, there's no evidence of it. Okay,
Right. Yeah.
mega hats. Okay, there's no
Wow.
Trump endorsement on his campaign page. He never talks about Trump other than to say, "Well, of course I support Trump." No, no, of course you don't support Trump if there's no evidence of it.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I
Yeah.
didn't know you had more than one primary opponent.
Yeah, yeah,
That's interesting.
yeah.
Wow.
Another guy came out a couple weeks ago.
Oh
Yeah.
boy.
I was. Here's something that old guy on a drone. His name is Mitch, and he's been my co-host on my show.
Mhm.
He wrote up here. He says, according to AOC, I'm an anti-Semite because I think Schiff is a liar. There's only one problem with that.
Right.
He's Jewish,
Yeah.
not by religion,
They don't
by
care.
race.
Right.
Yeah, his grandparents came over from Russia uh, back in the turn of the last century and went through all that. Yeah, it's
The truth does not matter to the other side. And
no.
and
That's,
because of that, we have to be bold, like Art is saying, we have to be bold, step out there and speak to the truth, point it out, shine the light on these rascals. Every chance we get, we should be shining the light on them. And
mhm.
there are enough good people out there, unaffiliated voters, even Democrat voters, that are just saying, "What in the world is going on?"
Yeah.
But right now, there's no um, there's not enough Republicans stepping up to where the unaffiliates are saying, "Wow, that's finally somebody's telling the truth." That's not happening enough, and that's our
Hmm.
problem.
Yeah, because we still have this underlying the problem with the problem with the Republican Party is for so long we've allowed the moderate, the ones that might have even been just either dead center or maybe even slightly left of center, but they ran as Republicans because they weren't far left,
Right.
and we allowed them to infiltrate the party, and that was the plan all along. Uh, we got this. The gentleman we had on a couple of weeks ago wrote the book "The Enemy Within." That's an
Mhm.
amazing book,
Yeah.
and I've read a couple books of people like that. Our the party has killed themselves over the last.
Yeah.
We don't support. That's the other thing. Like somebody like you, you are completely. Uh, you're a grassroots type of person that we need in the Republican
Right.
Party,
Right.
and the Republicans are so busy trying to keep the ones up there already, so busy trying to keep their seats that they don't want any new person coming in, or they think they've got to have somebody who is a moderate who will be able to reach across the aisle and
Yeah.
sing
Yeah.
happy happy joy joy with these guys. We
So
don't need that.
yeah,
you know
why
Hmm.
would unaffiliated voters select a Republican moderate over a Democrat moderate?
I can't tell the difference anyways.
Yeah.
Well, to my point is, the Democrat Party has gone so far to the left
Yeah.
that there's no way to work with them because they're not going to work with you anyway unless there is something for them if they get something out of it, which that's what compromise is.
Right.
However, they're so far to the left. Uh, Compromise only means, oh, 95% of what they want.
Exactly.
Yeah. Instead of trying to uh, come come together in the middle and work out something that's beneficial to both sides.
Oh yeah, for
They're
sure.
not all about that anymore.
Right.
Yeah. I think about the military because you and I are both veterans. We're both in the Air Force. We recognize each other as veterans,
Right.
Veterans are veterans no matter, race, color, or creed. You are a veteran. And even better, you're Air Force. So that's something else. And it turns out we were even both bomb loaders. So that's,
Right.
we're 4.62. So it's like, you know, that's the kind of connection that I make with you,
Hmm.
not just that you're a conservative, not that because obviously I'm different than you. As I said, I'm a fat old white guy, so I don't understand what you've gone through in your life. Although I do have, God, six, five, yeah, five mixed race grandchildren,
Right.
and or great grandchildren, I should say, and uh, I love them to death. They're just and
Yeah.
it's but that's neither here nor there. They're just my great grandkids. It's nothing. Nothing one way or the other.
Right.
And we though, if the Republicans could learn to take a playbook from the military, or the veterans, I should say, you
Yeah.
know. We all had our differences of opinions, and I was in the '70s, and there was a lot of difference of opinion back in the
Right.
'70s.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
You know,
In the military,
but
we had different barracks rooms, kind of a little bit of a segregation thing going on, but when we came to the job, we all came together, we did the job and made sure that it Yeah.
That's it. We all got in there. We rolled up our shirt sleeves and got out on that flight line. We loaded that ammo, loaded those bombs, did whatever we had to do. We
Right.
did our job. And if you ever did a TDY or got a short deployment somewhere, it didn't. You didn't look at "Oh, what color is
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah." No, it just okay. Uh, w- one of my one of my best supervisors was a he'd been he'd been in about 19 years. He was getting close to retiring,
Wow.
and he's a black guy. And man, I tell you what, I had more respect for that man than I did half the other people that worked there, because the guy knew his stuff,
Right.
and he proved his metal to me day in and day out. It had nothing to do with his background. It had to do with his knowledge, his professionalism, and him doing his job.
Yeah.
You know,
And I
like
think the military forced a lot of us, to rise above any potential uh, challenges that we had growing up, and just really just work to do the best job we could. So I became conservative in the military because I didn't start out that way. I went in as a progressive liberal. Now I'd never been registered as a Democrat, but I had the mindset of progressive liberal, and I
right,
was and I was looking for what I could get from the government. But being in the military and being working on the same team with good old boys from Iowa and Texas or whatever, it turned me into a conservative because I realized um, that not all white people are bad and not all black people are good. It's an individual thing. So
yeah.
yeah,
And that's it. Mason Keeler points out the military is a brotherhood that civilians will never understand or have,
right,
you know, and in some ways, that's where we need to be as a nation. We need to have that same sort. Let's judge the person by who they are, what their mettle is, what they've proven in their life.
yeah,
And, we need to get back to some basics in our politics. And,
right,
I look back at you know, here's an example. One of the things that, we mentioned it earlier about you mentioned about the day when race card can't be used, on one direction or the other, no
right,
matter
Right.
where you're
exactly,
running or which side of it you're on. It doesn't matter.
yeah,
It's used, and it'd be not. And my daughter had dropped out of school, got married, and then she ended up going back to school. And the only way she could get into a school was with my cousin, who was teaching at the last all black school in Oklahoma.
mm,
And my cousin was a white teacher, but it was a job. She went in, she taught.
yeah,
My daughter goes there, and it came up to Black History Month, and she needed help writing, something about that, and of course, it's kind of hard for this blonde haired, blue eyed white girl to write about Black history.
right,
So we went and we started looking. And I started looking up stuff about uh, uh, Martin Luther King and the "I Have Dreams" speech.
right,
Well, I'd heard it when it was given. I
right,
was there. I was alive when I remember it. But as a young, as a youngster or a young teen, I don't. I just it didn't make any sense for me, like whatever, because
mm,
I never had that problem anyways. I grew up in Denver,
right,
and I never noticed that problem anyways. In the neighborhood I was in, there was a lot of Hispanics, so we were
mm,
just all kids, we
right,
just all went out. So
Mhm.
when I went to read that and I read his words and what he said,
mhm.
I'm thinking, man, have we missed the boat somewhere?
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
missed the boat. Here's what I would
They
say, guys, and this is in my book as well, and that is, we need to learn how to practice identity politics the right way. Let me explain what I'm saying. So, Democrats use identity politics to separate everybody. So they put the
Mhm.
blacks in one corner, Hispanics in another corner, women in another corner, gays in another corner, and then they go to each group separately and say, we really want to help you. All we have to do is get rid of those mean racist Republicans, and then we can help you more. So, what Republicans need to do is practice identity politics. In other words, identify conservative Christian people like Casper, and find conservative blacks, conservative Hispanics, conservative gay, conservative straight, conservative libertarian, Presbyterian, anybody that's
yeah,
conservative in nature, and bring them into the fold. help support them in their efforts to run for office, to do things in the community. You know, I'm in the community all the time, teaching youth how to get a job, keep a job, and excel at that job, or teaching them how to start businesses. I have rarely, if ever, had any Republicans support me in that effort. And that's sad because if they supported me in the effort, they sponsored a workshop here and there, then we can start changing the narrative.
Hmm.
They need to follow me in, and they're not doing that. I've been trying to get them to do that for over 8 years.
Yeah,
So it's the biggest problem we have.
it, that is the problem. I mean, we unfortunately, I think what the problem, as I see it with the Republicans, is we still got some of them. Well, we got so many of them that's been in office for long enough that they need to retire.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
And I I hate to say it, but I think the retirement age for Republicans or I think 65, or 60, you know. Uh,
Hmm.
Well, I don't even think it's so much of an age, but it's
it's
just
a,
this is there's these individuals that are like recycled to these different offices
yeah,
Yeah.
for this and run for that, and next thing you know, they're running for mayor and they're running for congressperson. It's like, look, okay, enough, dude, enough. Stop.
Hmm.
Do something else. Do something productive
yeah,
in the community. How
yeah,
about you? How'd you? How about you become a director of a nonprofit that is actually helping our inner city youth?
There we go. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. We need to have. I mean, back when I was a kid, you know, your politicians. Well, I grew up in Denver, so not all of them were respected. There's, that's another thing. People don't realize, people younger than me. I mean, I remember the race riots in Denver. I
Yeah,
don't know if you were there, because I
I
don't know
wasn't
your age.
there at the time, but yeah.
Yeah, I remember them. It was all about force busing and all that, and uh, I remember it happening. And we don't have anything like that now, but we're close to it because of the fact we've divided ourselves, and we need to
Hmm.
start, like you said, we need to be the inclusive party,
Right.
but conservative inclusive, not just inclusive for the sake of being
Oh,
inclusive.
Right.
exactly,
Hmm.
exactly.
You
We need
know,
to make sure that we are bringing in like-minded people, and there's a ton of them, by the way. There are a lot of like-minded conservative blacks,
yeah,
Hispanics,
Hmm.
even gay. Okay, there's a lot of conservative gay folks,
yes, there are. Yeah,
but
Hmm.
but we need to be more. We need to reach out more to those individuals, and we're not doing that.
That's well.
yeah,
What I wanted to bring up is somebody mentioned in the chat that mainstream media is not mainstream anymore. It's will be an uphill battle. Trump calling out the fake news is one of the most effective strategies
Yeah,
in his toolkit. And I wanted to make a point for you, Casper, and any Republican that's going to be running for any office from dog catcher on up,
right.
that the media, they're going to they're going to pretend, oh well, we're mainstream, we're fair minded, but they're uh, infested. Oh, that most of the reporters in the news media are Democrats or left
Sure.
leaning, and they're biased to a certain side, and they're going to try to you know bring you down. They're going to ask you a lot of gotcha questions to make you look dumb, or uh, or
Or
you're making stuff up,
sure, sure.
and like what they did with the um.
Art, I'm going to have to step out for just a minute, and I'll be
All right,
right back. Okay.
all
Well, the
right,
media art, to your point, we know they're not our friends.
yeah,
Okay, if you don't know that, you're not, you know, you're not awake or you're not paying attention. So if we know this going in, we know we have to be our own media. That's why I appreciate your show and
yeah,
other shows that are out there, because if we do enough of these type shows and we blast this out, we get this information out there, we can compete with the mainstream media.
right,
Also know social media is also not our friend. They're shutting down conservative voices all the time. They may
Mhm.
shut me down before it's all done, because I'm not
Or this show.
exactly
We're kind of flying under the radar
right now.
here, and
Yeah,
it's a small channel that's slowly growing, and hopefully over time, with the algorithms and the tags that I put into the description later on,
yeah,
people it'll start getting recommended, and people
it
will
will.
start watching and say, "Hey, that art guy, he comes from a different way. So let's check out this guy. He's different."
Exactly. So what we have to do, because we know this going in, so we
Mm-hmm.
need to band together and support each other. Conservative voices need to always be promoting conservative shows, conservative podcasts,
Right.
conservative blogs, whatever, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and this is where the Republicans are dropping the ball again,
Mm-hmm.
because we think we're playing the game of politics, and
Mm-hmm.
politics has changed. It
Mm-hmm.
is not the same as it used to be. So we think that yard signs and forums and stuff like that,
Yeah.
you know, we think 90 days before the election is when we need to get busy
Yep.
with the
That's
ground game and all this other stuff. And the whole world of politics has shifted to where
right.
the race for 2020 is not run in 2020. It's run in 2019.
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah.
I'm out here now.
That's right.
Right. Yeah. But we don't do enough action right now. Now, I say that, but the Trump administration, I got to give them props again, because they're doing things that normal presidential races or normal politicians would not do. Trump
Right.
is challenging the media on a daily basis. In fact, he said on national news as he was headed to the helicopter, "Oh yeah, China should look into corruption too," and they about lost it. And said, "Oh my God, he said China too, and now Ukraine." So he is playing them like a fiddle, and
hmm
eventually it may lead to impeachment. But again, impeachment is not a bad thing. You know,
No, I
you know,
mean,
yeah,
I don't think a lot of those people in Congress understand what the impeachment process is.
no,
It's like, well, all right, he gets impeached. He's not out of office. Senate has to do that,
right,
and who controls the Senate? The Republicans.
yeah. For
However,
for
there's a caveat to that there because this is where I get a little disconcerted about it is that there are some never Trumpers in the Senate that could actually really screw things up and vote with the Democrats. And
not only can, they probably will. Like
yeah,
Robbie and
yeah, Mitt Romney and well, Amash, he's in Congress, but
no, Ben Sass, I think, is in the Senate,
mhm,
and there's another female, McCaskill or something like that.
yeah,
So there's enough rhinos or never Trumpers
right,
that could mess things up in the Senate. But again, at the end of the day, the odds of him being impeached is probably good, but the odds of him leaving office are about slim and none. But
yeah,
even if he did, check this out. Even if he did, that means Pence is the president.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's well, it's a win-win for us.
hmm
Yeah, not
And
and Pence could I know this is a long shot for all this happening, but Pence could pardon Trump and
hmm
make Trump the president. I mean, vice president, and then
right.
Pence could resign, which would make Trump the president, and then Trump.
Well, interesting.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
that is, yeah, he
Yeah,
could do that.
and that's all legal.
It
yeah,
is. Yeah. You know, my opinion or my thoughts on it were that I don't think Nancy really wanted to pull it. She didn't want to do this because she knows she's a smart old bird. She's been around for a while,
mhm,
eh, way too long. But
Yeah, right.
anyways, she knows what this will do to the Democratic Party and what it could do,
The vote.
and uh, I think she put it off as long as she could, and that's why she hasn't called a vote
Right.
because she knows once that's out there, they've either got to go ahead or back off, and she's just letting
Yeah.
the crew, the mob, or whatever you want to call them up there.
See,
Uh,
right now, without a vote, the Democrats have total control over the process.
yes,
He calls a vote and makes this official. That means that the minority,
Republicans,
uh, yeah, the Republicans can start calling witnesses as well.
Yeah.
yes,
They can
and they
call,
don't want that.
they can call the Bidens in. They could even call
Yes,
Obama in. They could call in Clinton. They could call in all these folks that we want to question anyway.
yeah,
So this would
yeah,
open a huge can of worms. Again, there is no upside for the
Hmm.
Democrats, zero upside for the Democrats. There is a huge upside for Trump and the Republican Party. But I really hope the party doesn't start to disintegrate, because already there are some Democrat Congress people that are saying, well, he shouldn't have said that. He shouldn't have said this, but we need to stick together, and we're not doing it.
Hmm.
that's the problem. You know, uh, that we as a party, as conservatives, we need to get rid of the rhinos. We need to get rid of the centrist and the slightly left of center that are in Republican Party, and we need to clear that out. But we as a party, like Mitt Romney, I mean, that guy, he lost. He needs to move on, get a life.
Hmm.
Go back to Utah and enjoy. Go do some deer hunting or something. Just get
Hmm.
out of politics. Because he was lousy at it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because he was a moderate Republican when he was governor of Massachusetts. And he basically brought in Obamacare in Massachusetts. That's how Obamacare was based off of
Of
what
his,
happened in Massachusetts.
Sure.
Oh,
yeah,
and by the way, he's from Michigan. His dad was governor of Michigan back in the late 60s, early
yeah,
70s.
but
Uh,
he
I had to
has,
pick my nose and plug my nose and everything else to vote for Romney in that election, but it
yeah.
was either Romney or Obama. So I voted for
yeah.
Romney. I really didn't want
Well,
him to. Yeah,
There
well,
was another situation where the press forced upon us and a candidate we didn't want, in that and the mainstream centrist Republicans forced that on us. You know, Everybody I know didn't want. They would like somebody like Ted Cruz or somebody like
yeah.
that.
Hmm.
Uh, and yeah, it's just we got stuck with Romney
Yeah.
and same with McCain. McCain
Yeah.
was another one we got stuck
another,
with. It's like,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I was
Well,
overjoyed when Trump won. Won the nomination, let alone then when he won the election, I'm going, oh yeah, this is good. And they
yeah.
tried to day one. Let's talk about impeachment.
Hmm. Yep. Yeah, they came up with that whole Russian collusion thing. That actually started well before uh, Trump got elected. This was going on back in 2015, late in 2015.
Yeah.
The Obama administration really got that ball rolling, and
Well, there
but I
was
wanted
Russian
to make a
collusion. It
point.
was them though,
Yeah.
not the Republicans.
Hmm.
right.
Now, McCain, he was the one that I really had to hold my nose to vote for. If it weren't for Sarah Palin, I
Exactly.
would have voted Libertarian
Yeah.
that time around because
She's the one
McCain
that ticket for me as well.
really turned my stomach when he went after George W. Bush. And that's when I lost my respect for John McCain. Is because John McCain was all about reaching across the aisle and working with the other side. Well, that's all well and good, but you know what? These people are not going to compromise our way. Ever since the '60s, when they were the majority for a long time, we always compromised their way. We got a little bit of what we wanted, but they got a big chunk of what they wanted, and that's how we got all these entitlements
Yep.
in place
Yep.
because we compromise with them.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Yeah, and that's we've become the party of compromise. And I,
We have
it,
to go on the offense, guys. Right
Yeah,
now,
that's
been playing
right.
defense for a long, long time, and Trump is on the offense. We need strong Congress people and senators that will uh, uh, um, pull alongside Trump and be on the offense, and that's what I represent. My two opponents are not going to do that. They're not even going to, they don't even know what game that we're playing right now.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
We're playing a game to, for the soul of our country, and they're just playing politics.
yeah. And that's the thing. There's three of us guys sitting here, and this is what we're talking about. We're Americans. We're
Right.
not a hyphenated American. And there was a gentleman I had the greatest respect. He was in the Air Force back. He was an old brown boot Air Force guy,
Okay.
and he was a black gentleman. And I used to run a flight sim group back for a long time, and he was one of my flight sim pilots.
Hmm.
And he'd get so mad because he said he just passed away this last year, or year before last. He was 80 some odd years old. Guy was in his 70s and 80s and still playing video games. That's, you got to respect him. Got confused a lot, but that's okay. But he says, I am an American. I served my country. I am an American. I'm not black. I'm not. He says my kids, they come into this house. I don't want to hear them talk about being, you know, African Americans. He says, I'm not from Africa.
Right.
My parents are right here from Canton, Ohio. This
Yeah.
is where I was born. This is where my parents were born. It's where my grandparents were born,
Yeah.
right in this, you know, we're not from Africa. He says, I'm sure there's some relatives there that from way back. He says, but we're Americans. And that is the point.
Right.
We all have to understand that we're Americans first and anything else is just secondary,
Yeah,
you
Absolutely.
know, and we
that's
got to
right.
fight for this country if we want it, because being a citizen of this country is not easy, because sometimes I heard this speech once that sometimes you have to sit there and listen to a guy spout stuff that is so sickening, but you have to defend his right to be able to say it.
Right.
Hmm.
Right.
Whether you like it or not, you
Hmm.
still have to, as an American and a citizen of the United States, we have to defend his right to say stuff that, we don't agree with,
Yeah.
Hmm.
you
I,
know.
when I raised my hand and took the oath of office, as you did as well, Lloyd, we
Hmm.
we did that to support the flag, the Constitution, and individuals' rights to be able to speak out against the country.
And to defend it from, defend it
Any
from enemies,
foreign and
enemies, foreign or
domestic.
domestic. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And
Hmm.
now there are people risking their lives trying to get here. So if this is such a horrible country, then why are they risking their lives, the families' lives, and
Hmm.
everything else, to get to this country? So we know the truth, but we have to speak the truth more, and we're not doing.
Yeah, we're not. We've got too many people that are wringing their hands or saying, "Well, if Trump gets impeached, I don't know what we're going to do." And you know, uh, it's. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie American President or not,
I think I did, yeah.
with Michael Douglas. Now, I
Uh-huh.
don't agree with his politics.
Right,
But on the other hand, that's one of my favorite movies because he says a few things on there that I don't care which side of the aisle you're on,
right,
it makes a lot of sense. And that's where that thing about, we've got to stand up for people's rights to say things, even if we don't agree with them.
yeah,
And that's where that comes from, is that
yeah,
movie. So if you haven't seen it, watch it. Oh,
yeah,
you'll beat your head against the wall, thinking, oh, this guy's such a bleeding heart liberal. But he does some things like, he had a girlfriend, and one of the things he talks about is, why is it the citizen's right to know whether I've got a girlfriend or not? You
right,
know,
Yeah.
what business if I'm doing my job, what does that
matter.
this is about my job, not about my social life. And unfortunately, God, this movie came out, what, 96?
Right, right.
And it
What's bizarre
rings
about
true
Trump?
today.
Yeah. Here's
Hmm.
what's bizarre about Trump. Um, had Obama done the same thing that Trump was doing, he'd be praised. I mean, he'd get the Nobel
Yeah.
Peace Prize like 5 or 6 different times. They'd be throwing every time he opened his mouth, they'd give him the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Trump has, in the past, let's see, 6 or 7 months, there have been over 5,000 Black and Hispanic folks freed from prison. Now these are individuals that are doing all the right things in prison. You know, the model citizens or whatever. They
Right.
were in prison for possession charges, and they were in prison for 20-year sentence for
Yeah.
possession. Right, nonviolent felons. Over 5,000 have been released. You would think the media would be jumping up and down excited about that. You would think that the Black and Hispanic community would be jumping up and down excited about that. They are ignoring it. His First Step Act, Second Chance Act, criminal justice reform. I mean, he's doing things that, again, if Obama did it, they would be literally trying to chisel out a spot for him on
Mount Rushmore. Yeah.
Rushmore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so um, we just have to keep shining a light on it, keep
That's right.
pointing out what's going on. You know, the African Leadership or the Black Leadership Conference that just happened this week. We need to blast that out. I put it on Facebook. I blasted out 5 or 6 different times. This is what the GOP should be talking. The only thing they should have been talking about yesterday or the day before, whenever that happened, was that.
Yeah.
But very few GOP groups talked about it. But
Right.
that should have been the only thing that they were talking about.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
I
how
want
it came.
wanted to read this quote real quick here. It says liberals claim to want to give a hearing to other views, but when they're but then they are shocked and offended to discover that there are other views.
Right.
William F. Buckley Jr. said that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that is so true. That's so true. It's funny when I talk to white liberals and stuff, they just don't get me. They just, why are you not, get back in the bucket? What are you doing out there? Free thinking black individual, what's wrong with you and stuff. I said, dude, you you don't have any more access than I have. I have access to everything you have access to. I have the same
Mhm.
privilege. I read the Constitution. I carry it around with me in my pocket. When I get stopped by a cop, he can stop me if I'm breaking the law. I get that, and you know, um, I'm gonna abide by his commands. But he better be right because if he's not right, we're going to court. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
find it out on the street. Okay, I'm
Mhm.
a still carry permit holder, but they have more guns than I do, and they can
Mhm.
call for backup, and I can't. Right, so
Yeah.
so I'm not going to fight it out on the street, on the side of the street. I'm not going to call him all kinds of foolish names. I'm
Right.
going to say, all right, I'm telling you, I'm in the right here, so you can handcuff me, lock me up, do whatever, but I'm calling my lawyer, and I'll own this city, before it's done.
Yeah. It's, the problem we have is we've had, I remember, uh, boy, there for a long time on YouTube, everything was about the thug life, and I've got grandsons that are thugs, and I have no use for them.
Yeah,
And then I've got granddaughters that are just super productive, and but it got to be a lifestyle with these people, and then being on YouTube and fighting with the cops and calling them, names, and I don't care who you are, that's just stupid,
it's
you
stupid.
know.
Mhm.
And just I told my kids, my boys, when they started, all three of my kids, I said, uh, when you start driving, if you get pulled over, you say yes sir, yes ma'am, whatever the case is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You do what they say, and you take the ticket.
yeah,
And if they were in the wrong, we'll go to court about it, but you
exactly,
never disrespect. And
exactly.
apparently it rang true for my oldest son because he is now a police chief. So
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's how you do it in America, and
yeah.
I don't care what color you are. That's how you do it. Now, are there are there situations? Are there bad cops? Of course there are.
Oh,
Yeah.
There
mhm.
are bad people everywhere, but there's very few of those bad people. There's very few bad cops, and when we
Mhm.
find one, we need to expose it or whatever. But um, I don't assume that every time I get stopped, it's by a bad cop. It's probably because
Right.
I did something I wasn't supposed to be doing.
I said this, because I'm a vlogger and I always comment about stuff. One of the things I was talking about here on one of my vlogs a while back is, hey, I have known police officers to pull somebody over because to thank them for driving safely. It doesn't happen like it used to, but I've known it to happen,
Yeah.
you know. And matter of fact, when I first started driving, there was a gal that we saw her pulled over by the police, and we were all she had her own car,
Mhm.
and the rest of us were walking to the bus stop, but we were laughing because the cops got her. We got to school and we started harassing her, and she holds up this thing, and it was a certificate of good conduct written by the police officer and given to her because she was a good driver.
Nice.
Are you kidding me? We
Nice.
knew we were never going to get any of those because we
Hey guys, can I give out a couple websites?
You sure can. Go
sure.
ahead.
So my the website for my book, The Great Black and Millennial Awakening, is greatblackawakening.com. That's greatblackawakening.com. It's a book that'll be out in about 60 days. It's in pre-order right now. So if they go to that website, they're going to get a signed copy of that book, along with my pamphlet that I wrote last year called "Love Saves America." You're gonna get a copy of both books for the one price. And then my campaign website is Casper for Colorado. It's the word for, FOR. Casper
We'll, we'll
Colorado.
put that in the description down below.
Okay, I appreciate that. Yeah, so we're looking for volunteers. We're looking for some additional team members. I have a team of about 7 right now. We're adding more every day, but we're
Mhm.
looking for folks to join the team because we're going to hit the ground running after this 2019 cycle is done. We're going to train up some more volunteers, and we're going to hit the ground running heavy because we have to do a lot between now and November 2020.
Right. That's right. Yeah.
And don't get
And yeah, those are Lloyd's dogs.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody who's ever been on a show with me knows it. Yeah, my dog's bark. I had one of them in here. We have 3 Pomeranians and a Great Pyrenees.
Oh wow!
Yeah, he's about 150 pounds and he's a big puppy.
All
But
right.
yeah, I will definitely be. Yeah, if Art, if you'll put that in the description, because I definitely want to. Actually, I'll probably get one of those books. Uh,
Great. Yeah, I'll definitely put
I
that in the
love I love
description.
digital books, but I still like to have a paper one in my hand every so often.
Yeah.
Last week we had Karen Murray, who is an NRA instructor, and we put a link to the shooting club that she does business with, Franktown. What was that? Franktown Firearms, I think it was.
Yeah, I think it's Franktown Firearms. Yeah,
Yeah. Hmm.
and uh, and I will next time my local representative has a town hall meeting, I will be in touch with him and I'll tell him about you,
Awesome.
Casper.
I appreciate.
And he's a yeah. Funny thing was in Oklahoma when I moved here 38 plus years ago, uh, after I got out of the service, uh, when I moved here, uh, this town, Muskogee, Oklahoma.
Mhm.
Uh, in spite of that song "Okie from Muskogee," it's nothing like it. I can tell you. Uh, uh, but we were the center of the Democratic Party,
Mm,
and so in order to vote in any primaries, I had to register as a Democrat
yeah.
because there were no Republicans running.
Right.
So it was the lesser of two evils. So that's what I had to do. I always voted Republican every chance, whenever there was a Republican, I voted that party.
Sure.
But I was to vote in primaries. You have to be, it's your party's primary in Oklahoma, so you have to. It's not an open primary.
Yeah.
So, which is the way it should be everywhere.
Absolutely.
Mhm, mhm.
But
Yeah.
so yeah, we've got a now. I can brag that in 2016 we were the only state that every single county was red for Trump. We were the only state in the lower 48 that was, I mean, every single county went for Trump in 2016.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
No, it's going to be a very similar thing this time. I know all the polls say different, but they also said that up until election night in 2016. They all
Yeah.
showed
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton winning, and she lost big time. And that's the same thing. Matter of fact, it's going to be even more of a
Yeah.
disappointment to them
Hmm.
in
Yeah.
I
2020 because
agree. Hmm.
Yeah. And I
the
think that's so true. And I don't think it's just us talking because wishful thinking. I honestly believe it,
no, I mean the
and
numbers are there. Like I said, the Hispanic approval rating for Trump is at 50%, 50%,
Hmm.
Hispanic community, and it's 20+% in the Black community. Not so much here in Colorado, but across the nation, it's huge.
yeah.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
so those numbers alone would almost assure a landslide victory for Trump.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
As
I'm
long as
looking
the guy
forward
is
to
sick,
it.
he's going to win with no problem.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, and I hope you do too. I would
Yeah.
love to
Same
see.
here.
Uh, it'd be nice to be able to say, "Hey, I know that congressman and he's an Air Force veteran on top of that." So,
Hmm.
Exactly.
Well, Casper, I wish you luck on your primary. Just keep working hard, chipping away, and you already have the head start on your primary opponent. So you've got that advantage. Just uh, get on the phone and call the like-minded people that have the dough that can help you out. I know a few people, so what I'll do is after the show, I'll give you a list. I'll say, hey, talk to these people. They
Right.
might be able to help you.
All right. Very good.
Um, and what I'll do is I'll say, hey, watch this program, and you'll get the big scoop on what Casper is all about.
Yes, absolutely.
So, uh,
Appreciate that.
good luck to you. We'll probably have you on again down the road, see how you're doing.
Yep.
And so uh, keep on trucking.
All right. Appreciate it, Art. Lloyd,
yeah,
take care.
and best of luck to you, Casper. And it has been an absolute pleasure and honor to sit here and visit with you today. It's just been absolutely fun.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to thank all the folks that came in the chat. Thank you for stopping by. And all those people who were watching on YouTube, thanks for coming. And God bless you. And we'll see you next week when we have some great guests again. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.
Goodbye.